You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
All righty, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football. This is the Friday Fantasy Football Night Lights episode as we start going through to break down all of the weekend slates here for the NFL. I am Derek, and I'm joined, as always, by your co-host, Kevin. Kevin, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. The first Friday night of the season, right? So we had our Thursday night game last night. We'll get into that here in just a second, but looking forward here to the weekend, right? So week number 2 of college football, week number 1 of the NFL slate. Some people are already like doom and glooming their fantasy teams after seeing the Rams play. Don't fret, it's okay. But no, man, I'm living my best life right now, dude. This is awesome.
In the words of Aaron Rodgers, RELAX.
Relax, man.
It's okay. And that was one of the things that was kind of interesting, right? Like, obviously playing in the on the socials and all that kind of stuff. You heard a lot of people. There was a lot of talk that I saw, and a lot of folks that sent us some messages there as well about trying to take a victory lap on the fact that they said Cam Akers wasn't going to do well, or trying to tell us that, we owe people an apology for drafting him. What I will tell you is at the end of the season, if Cam Akers falls well below where we predicted him and where we projected him and at what point we said he was a draft day value, sure, we'll own up to that and we'll admit that. But at this point, we're one game into the season. There's 16 more of these things to be played. Should there be some concern? Probably. Is it way too early to try and predict how the rest of the season is fully going to go and what you're going to really see for statistical output? No, there's plenty of time left. Remember, for him to get into RB2 territory in half-point PPR scoring, you're talking about him scoring somewhere in 150 to 160 or more points over the course of the season. There's still plenty of time to do that. And I think we'll see a different effort from the Rams here going forward. And especially, I think Sean McVay will go into the laboratory here a little bit again and try and figure out a run game and some run schemes, because it didn't matter who was back there. That offensive line was not opening holes and was not allowing these running backs to really get any wiggle room. They were getting met with defenders at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I have Cam Akers on my home team roster, right? So we're not telling you guys this stuff because it's things that just sound good and that we're not doing ourselves. Am I disappointed with the performance? Absolutely. But if you guys were paying close enough attention and you drafted Cam Akers, we were also telling everyone to draft Darrell Henderson, right? Have that handcuff. Like, this is why you have handcuffs. Am I starting Cam Akers next week? Nope. I'm telling you right now, Cam Akers is going on my bench. I want to see how the Rams adjust. But it's, like Derek said, it's one game. The world was falling apart last year.
Yes.
The same opening night game 1 year ago, when Zeke Elliott did absolutely nothing for fantasy football purposes against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, Zeke had a great game as a professional, right? Football-wise, he played a great game. And anybody who says otherwise doesn't understand what they're looking at. He just didn't put up the fantasy points you wanted. Now, as far as Cam Akers goes, if you had it documented somewhere, I don't care if it was a text, a tweet, an email, a video, a podcast, a radio show, if you called that Cam Akers was only going to see 12 offensive snaps and 3 touches in this game, send it my way. Because I'm telling you right now, no one called that. No one. Not people who get paid. Not, Adam Schefter didn't say anything about that.
Matthew Berry.
Berry didn't say that.
Rappaport, Florio. It doesn't matter what analyst you look at. the nobody had that one called, at least in the fantasy industry and from everything I've seen. But absolutely, if you've got that documented, I'd love to see it. Love to have the conversation with you. You can send it to any one of our socials: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. You shoot it over in a DM, whatever. At Good Old Boys FF. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation and let's go through it. Like I want to see somebody that did that one, because quite frankly, I want to just pick your brain a little bit, because that.
Right.
That's always fun to see folks that make a bold call like that and it comes true.
Absolutely. So. On the flip side, Josh Allen is good at football.
Yes, extremely good at football.
He looked dang near midseason form, and those interceptions weren't his fault.
No.
They you know what? Maybe you could argue that the second one was maybe his fault, that he underestimated the corner jumping that route a little bit, but the first one sure wasn't. Good Lord. McKenzie had it in his hands, and as the linebackers go in to tackle him, just rips it away. That's not on him.
Right.
Diggs did Stephon Diggs type things. We saw Gabe Davis. Like, I might have to take a step back a little bit and rethink my thoughts and opinions on Gabe Davis going forward, right? 5 catches for 84 yards and a
touchdown? Yeah.
Right? Like, Gabe Davis was a little quiet in the second half, but the first half was very active within the offense. But realistically, guys, there were only three players on the Buffalo Bills that saw 5 targets or more: Diggs, right, Davis, and Zach Moss.
Yep.
Like, so maybe we all need to revisit that a little bit. It looked like they're going to try and split Crowder and Isaiah McKenzie up to make up for that Cole Beasley work. Maybe Gabe Davis is going to eat into some of that himself. And week to week it'll change. But the Bills look great. The Rams look like they were on a Super Bowl hangover a little bit. So we'll see how they adjust and move forward. But we're here. It's football season.
Absolutely. So one of the other things too, I am going to victory lap, because I called the Bills to cover. And I called the under on that one, hit both of those things.
You did.
I was a little miffed. I'm not going to lie. A little miffed at their touchdown dance outcome on there. The hook is what got me on that one. So I called for the Jamison Crowder touchdown, a Cooper Kupp, and a Gabe Davis one. And that Isaiah McKenzie one, like, that was the one in there that I really thought that was going to be the Jamison Crowder one. And then there was another one that Josh Allen took off and ran one in. I thought, for like looking at that and seeing him go through his progressions, I really thought he was going to rip one off into Jamison, who was kind of right there at the front of the end zone. And then all of a sudden you just saw him sandwich coverage by the defense there. And it ended up not being, and Josh Allen ran it in, and c'est la vie. I should have kept my original call of Diggs on there, but I didn't want to be too chalk when I was writing that article. And lesson learned. Sometimes chalk is okay. But
yeah, things happen, right? It's week 1. But you hit your parlay, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I hit a 5-leg parlay in which I called for the the Bills to cover, the under to hit, Allen over 230 passing yards, Stafford over 230 passing yards, and an anytime touchdown from Cooper Kupp, and hit that plus 1550 on that guy. So gotta love it. Like, you can't be mad when you hit those 5-leg parlays and you hit any call that's a plus 1,000 out there. A couple of questions or comments coming in here. Mark over on YouTube. Good evening, gentlemen. Mark, I don't believe I've seen you in the chat before, so welcome in. Always enjoy seeing new faces in here. And then Mark also saying he has Knox as his tight end. Any reason to panic? We're going to go ahead and hit this one. And then Mr. Blazed, I see you on in the chat there as well. We'll go ahead and hit your question here in just a second. So let's go ahead and hit the Knox question here real quick. Any reason to panic on Dawson Knox?
No, I don't think so. You drafted Knox for his touchdown upside, right? You're drafting Knox because he's in arguably the most prolific offense in the NFL. We knew that before Thursday night, so this is not a new statement, right? But he is not the week in, week out, safe floor tight end, right? Like, he's not that guy. Goddard is more that guy,
right?
For retrospect. So no, I don't think you need to panic. Now, if you want a higher floor with your tight end, then maybe you look about making a roster adjustment if that's what you feel like you need. But if you're set everywhere else, right, and you're playing the upside week in and week out, Dawson Knox is a great play because he has Josh Allen throwing him the football. So a lot of it's roster dependent. But at first glance, I would say no. It wasn't a great night for him, but that's okay.
Right. And Mark, what I'll tell you too is we do have our draft video, our player profile type of video on the YouTube channel there as well. You can check it out. It's like a 3 to 4 minute video type of thing. And what he did last night was a lot of what we called in a lot of the analysis of what happened last night. Like Dawson Knox is not the guy that is going to see a lot of 5-zone touchdowns. Like he's our 5-zone targets, right? Like that's just not his game. That's not how the Buffalo utilizes him. They utilize him more as a little bit of a deeper threat over the seam, down the middle type of guy coming out of there. And he'll catch more intermediate type of passes for touchdowns in there. But Buffalo, when you look at it and you see that they don't typically use the tight end inside the 5-zone, which most of Buffalo's touchdowns came inside the 5-zone last night, right? You saw the one long pass to Diggs, touchdown pass to Diggs there, but almost all of the rest of those were 5-zone and 10-zone targets there. And Dawson Knox last year really didn't see any 5-zone or 10-zone targets there. They mostly came on kind of those 15 and further yards away from the end zone there. And that's where you'll see him do that. And again, Kevin already said it. You drafted him because he's in a prolific offense, and a prolific offense that likes to throw the ball when they get into the red zone there. And he's a guy that will still probably see, 8. I would say probably the floor is anywhere from 6, 7, 8 touchdowns on that one. And when he has those, you'll see really positive performance there. And when he doesn't, you're going to see a little bit lower floors there. Like he still gives you plenty of upside. So what do you think about Ramsey's performance? I think the entire Rams defense wasn't as good as we may have expected on that one. Plus the fact that you had Josh Allen come out there and really just pick apart the defense. When you looked at it, the Rams stayed in a ton of zone coverage on that one, and Josh Allen was just kind of picking them apart going through there. It would have been interesting to see had they shifted some things up and gone a little bit more man coverage there and seen if they could have thrown him off the game there a little bit. There really wasn't much pressure on Josh Allen, and not even that, it wouldn't have mattered because Josh Allen was getting the ball out of his hands so quick. He was, I think it was timed out at like 2.1 seconds, 2.2 seconds on his snap to release, like well below the NFL average on that.
Yeah, it was one of the fastest release game, or one of the, if not the fastest release game that Josh Allen's ever had as a pro. Mm-hmm. Now, I also think that Ramsey started pressing a little bit, right? Like he's trying to make that big splashy play. He saw that his offense needed help, and so he gambled on a couple of them, right? Like he gambled on one that Gabe Davis got. He gambled on one that Diggs got. Like he almost gave up that touchdown to Diggs, right? Where in the back of the end zone kind of went off their hands, and you see Diggs doing this, and him and Ramsey are going back and forth. Jalen Ramsey is still a good corner, but he needs a pass rush, and Josh Allen was getting the ball out so fast that the pass rush couldn't get to him. And they're trying to refine ways to get to the passer. That's not just Aaron Donald. Mm-hmm. Right? They have to do that. They lost Von Miller, which was a key piece. Floyd last night was non-existent. I think Calherd made the observation of that as well. Like, you just didn't see anybody putting pressure on Josh Allen. And part of what helps corners and makes corners elite is a good pass rush, because you're forcing the quarterback into speeding up his clock or trying to force the ball into tight windows so that way he doesn't take a negative play.
And we saw that on the opposite side of the ball, right? Like what you were just talking about. The Bills did a fantastic job getting to the quarterback, not allowing them to establish really any sort of running game to it, to really take pressure off of there. And you saw it to the point where Stafford was having to press a little bit, speeding up the clock a little bit, and he sailed some balls there, right? And a lot of those things ended up then going the other way. So I don't think that there's any reason to necessarily worry about Jalen Ramsey's performance. I do think that he is still a top 5 corner out there. You'd be hard pressed to say that he's not, still exceptionally great and elite at the position.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. He's still a really good corner, right? Like he gets the knock that he doesn't travel side to side, right? He kind of stays on his side. But Sherman had that knock for his career too,
it
right?
Was like Revis Island for a reason, right? Like he just took away a third of the field. Like
and again, it's one game. It's right. One game. It was a bad performance, possibly a bad game plan. This is the downside of when you do not play starters in the preseason, right? Mm-hmm. They got to get the rust knocked off. They're going live. They're going full games, right? Maybe their conditioning's lacking a little bit. They're waiting to kind of, sharpen their instincts a little bit. So they need to make adjustments, but the world is not falling apart for the Rams yet, right? Like it's one game. We will see how they look week 2. They have a favorable matchup traveling to Atlanta next week, and we'll see what kind of adjustments they can make. But I think this team, since they just got embarrassed on national television, I think we'll see a chip on their shoulder and they will play better in week 2.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you'll also see some of these guys too. Like, I think you'll figure out a way to get Allen Robinson more involved, right? You can't have it where Cooper Kupp is going to have 40% of the target type of share. Like, he had 30% last year, and it showed up well, but you can't sustain success there. Marcus C., you got another question coming in. Thanks for the advice on Knox. QB is Dak. Fields. Running backs are Chubb, Pierce, Stevenson. Wide receivers Pittman, DJ Moore, Waddle, St. Brown, Robinson, Watson. Tight end is Knox. Not a bad team at all. I'm assuming it's single QB with you only having Dak and Fields out there. That's a team that's going to compete week in, week out.
Yeah, if you're starting, so just depending on league setup, if it's a league where you're starting 3 wide receivers and a flex, then you're pretty much set where you are. If it's only 2 wide receivers and a flex, I know it's kind of fun to see if Wan'Dale Robinson or Christian Watson are going to kind of break out towards the end of the season. But again, with this roster, you have enough top-heavy talent, especially at wide receiver. Like I really like Pittman, Moore, St. Brown, and Jalen Waddle, right? Your top 4 wide receivers are very, very good. So if you have to make the sacrifice on Robinson or Watson to get a tight end with a higher floor, feel free to do that, right? It just depends on what your waiver wire looks like and everything else. But you drafted Knox for a reason. So you don't have to make the change. It's just one game. You don't have to make any change.
Right. I mean, and there's no reason that with that wide receiver room, if you really, a week or 2 down the road, you're a little concerned there. Yeah, there's probably a world in which you can package up Dawson Knox and Wan'Dale Robinson or Watson and go out and trade for a tight end. Trade up a little bit, get somebody with a little safer floor, things like that. But your wide receivers are going to your wide receiving room has all the pop that you need to be able to kind of carry it week to week there. Your running backs are probably going to be a little bit more of your floor there. Dak's going to do Dak-like things. So when Dawson also falls into the end zone and pops for you, that's just going to be a great week for you. So like I said, I think that's a team that'll compete week in, week out. Alrighty. Well, guys, we're going to go ahead and start moving into some of these games, right? So, what a breezy 88. I see your question. We'll get to that one here in just one second. But for those of you new to the show here on Friday nights, we go through the entire weekend slate of games here. So all 15 games of the NFL from Sunday to Monday, we're going to hit up. We're going to go through, talk about some of our predictive scores there. We're going to hit up some potential flex type of plays there. We're going to hit up, a prop that we kind of like out of each one of those deals there. And so what a breezy 88's asking, who is a better flex, Dameon Pierce or Darnell Mooney this week? And on that one, I think I want to lean Darnell Mooney, to be honest with you.
All right. Our first disagreement of the Friday night season. I'm going to take Pierce. Okay. So the Niners and the Bears have one of the lowest scoring total games of the slate coming up. There's weather coming into Chicago. It's going to be wet. It's going to be rainy. And not that it just plays havoc for the first game of the season, right? So you're not quite sure what that's going to look like. The Niners defense, for all intents and purposes, you figure you're going to be back in that top 3 to 5 range, playing defense. And Dameon Pierce, you're going to see volume, right? The thing with receivers is, in general, some weeks, unless you're elite like Kupp, right, has 15 targets and 13 catches, right? But like a Mooney, he's going to see his target share, but what you don't know is how accurate Justin Fields is going to be, what this offense is going to look like with the new coaching staff, all those other things. So, Mooney might have 6 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown. He might have 3 catches for 102 yards and a touchdown. Like that's a big variable, but I think for week 1, your safer play is Dameon Pierce. Now, if you just got done going up against Josh Allen and you need bang, right? If you need to catch up, or Kupp or Diggs, right? You went up against one of these high scoring players on the Thursday night game and you're trying to make up that point differential, then Mooney's your ceiling play. But if you just need points, then I think you're going Pierce.
Yeah. So part of it has to do with the fact too of how I see the game script going on each one of those guys. Right. So Houston's up against a tough matchup there as well in Indianapolis. And while it is a little bit of a higher scoring matchup there, it's not that much higher than San Francisco, right? We're talking, collectively the over-under is about a 4-point difference there. So you're talking realistically, field goal type of thing. So the way that I've got that is Chicago, I'm going to be losing that game, and they're going to be trailing, and they're going to be losing by a fair bit there. And so I do think that you're going to see Justin Fields have to rear back and try and throw the ball to keep them in it and try and come back on that one. Whereas Indianapolis also has a pretty good defense there. And I've got Indianapolis winning that game in Houston. And again, they're going to win that one. And I think that you're going to see Houston have to try and make a comeback there in the second half there. So that's kind of the reason that I'm going that route there. But I will agree with you, Kevin, that I do believe Dameon Pierce has the safer floor of that one. But I do think that Darnell Mooney will have the bigger ceiling. So was the Breezy 88. Thanks for the question. Always a pleasure. We're going to hit up a couple of these other real quick. Thanks again. Heading to bed. I'll watch the rest of the morning. See you guys next time. Mark, appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Cassius Stylist, welcome on back. Glad to see you in the chat again. And what a Breezy actually traded Akers for Pierce right after my draft. Well, if Akers holds out like that the rest of the season, that's not a bad move there. But we'll see how that one comes to play when it's all said and done there. So I like it. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and start heading into the matchups here and start breaking some of these things down, going through that. If you got questions, you want to, throw something out on the matchup, you got a, question about a player we're talking about in that matchup, go ahead and throw it out there. We'll go ahead and talk it through with you. First matchup, we're going to Atlanta, where the Saints are coming to town. The Saints favored by 5.5. The over-under on this one, 43. What are your thoughts here?
I like the Saints. I like the fact I think they cover this 5.5. I think the Saints are probably a touchdown better than the Falcons, but I like the under in this one. Mm-hmm. I just don't know that I'm convinced that Marcus Mariota is going to be able to put touchdowns on the board. I see a lot of field goals in their future. The Saints play a lot of cover 2, so the crossing routes for Kyle Pitts is going to be a little bit more difficult in this game. It's just going to be a little bit interesting, right? Like Drake London, still questionable coming in. We think he's going to be better, but he missed some time coming into the season. I think the Saints defense is good enough that they'll probably keep Cordell Patterson in check too, right? So it's a whole lot of factors leading up to the Saints being better here, but I do like the under in this game.
I agree with you. I think that this one's going to be close, but I do see it coming as an under. I've got the Saints covering it, but just barely. It's a 24-18 type of deal is what I'm seeing this one play out at. One of the things too, right? Like like you just said, the Saints have a pretty darn good defense, and they do some really good things there. So one of the props that I was looking at, as I was looking at a lot of the passing work, things like that, Mariota right now is a 218.5 passing yards is kind of the over-under on him. I'm going to take the under on that, on Marcus Mariota's 218.5 passing yards. The Saints defense, and granted, this is dating back to last year. They've got some different players there, and it's changed some things up there a little bit. But I do see that the under has been hit 9 out of the last 10 games on the passing lines against the Saints defense. I think that's going to hold true. So even though this is going to be a tougher divisional matchup, I do see the Saints pulling that one out, and I'm calling a score of 24-18 when it's all said and done. Any other thoughts? Any other props you want to look at here?
I think so. If you're looking at things, one of the things that I like in these games are the anytime touchdown props, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think one guy that has some good upside and a realistic possibility here is Jarvis Landry, right? Jarvis Landry's plus 210 for an anytime touchdown. So as much as I really like Chris Olave, it's his first game as a pro. Michael Thomas is still just kind of coming back. We're not quite sure what he's going to look like on the field after basically being out for a year and a half plus. So I like this Landry plus 210 anytime touchdown.
Well, and not only that too, but it looks like Landry may very well get Darren Hall as the matchup there as well in the slot. And out of the cornerbacks that Atlanta's going to be putting up there, Darren Hall's the best one to match up there against. So I kind of like that one. I do like that anytime touchdown for Jarvis Landry there. I know in our Pine and Shine video that we called for, I did call for Michael Thomas to have a shine kind of game, and I think he can still do that here as well. A little bit tougher, though, because I do think that A.J. Terrell is going to kind of shadow him there a little bit and definitely play him a little bit tougher there. All righty. Couple of questions coming in here before we head on to our next matchup there, unless you have any other thoughts here on the Saints and the Falcons.
No, let's touch a couple questions.
All right. Jay Frank on the YouTube, Breece Hall or Pierce this week? PPR, it's Pierce by a mile for me.
I completely agree. Shaquille Leonard is going to be out, or Darius Leonard, as a lot of us know. I completely missed when he changed his name.
It happened this offseason.
Okay, fair enough. So completely missed when he changed his name. But anyway, he's going to be missing out of the middle of that Colts defense, so it is going to take some of that sting out of the run game, or out of the run defense there for the Colts. Pierce, I think he's kind of locked into some more opportunity, a little bit more, maybe not target share, but snap count percentage, right? He's going to see the field a bit more. Pierce, Hall. I think Hall's going to be playing pretty close to 50-50 with Michael. Why am I there?
Michael Carter.
Michael Carter. Thank you. Oh my goodness. So I wouldn't be surprised if Carter's the first one out, taking the first, drive or two. We'll see Pierce sprinkled in. And as we saw Thursday night, it's a different game in the NFL. James Cook, first touch, right? Gets the ball and then pop, boom, fumbles, and then he's irrelevant the rest of the game. So I'm not saying that will happen with Breece Hall. I'm just saying, these rookies can't show that they can have ball security. Coaching staffs are pretty nervous to play them. So we'll see what happens. But I do think Michael Carter's going to get first run. So Pierce for me.
I actually got it as a more than a 50-50 split in that one. I've got it where Michael Carter is actually probably going to have a 55-60 split with Breece Hall, with Carter taking the lion's share on that one there too. Not only that, it's Joe Flacco starting on this one. Michael Carter, very, very good in pass pro. We saw that last season. And we've seen Michael Carter flash when he has a check down type of quarterback behind center. Joe Flacco, very much a check down quarterback there. And so it's not going to surprise me to see Michael Carter actually have a pretty decent game here in week one, and potentially outperform his projections that I've seen on him there. I think the rushing work may not necessarily be great for Michael Carter, but I think that he's going to make up for in the passing game. And I think the Jets are going to have to play from behind quite a bit in that one as well. Alrighty, Vincent over on YouTube likes the Jarvis and agreed with you on your anytime touchdown there. Also asking Tyler Lockett or George Pickens this week.
Yeah.
That's a toughie.
I know, because I'm such a homer for George
Yes, you
Pickens coming
are.
out of Georgia, right? So I think that Lockett probably has the higher ceiling, just because of his ability to get deep. We saw the Broncos kind of be susceptible to that in the preseason. Yes, it was backups, but with these defensive philosophies, some of this doesn't change. But man, oh man, I want it to be George Pickens, but I think in this instance, I'm going to take the veteran presence over the rookie in his first game.
Yeah, and I mean, he doesn't have an easy matchup. Neither one of them have easy matchups, right? Fully looks like you're probably going to see Tyler Lockett end up, kind of playing against Ronald Darby, who's been decent out there. Whereas you'll likely see George Pickens, having to play against Owazi. And again, like those neither one of those things are going to be overly advantageous matchups for either one of those. But I've got to agree with you, right? Like as much as I'm a believer in George Pickens, I want to see him actually do it in actual NFL games and on the field before I'm going to start really putting him in and trusting him in a flex position or my wide receiver 2 there. So I'm going to go with Tyler Lockett just simply from the standpoint we've seen it happen before. And I do think that you're going to see Seattle get down in that one and have to try and throw their way out of that thing too.
Yeah,
so.
and all things created equal, right? It just personal thing here. If all things are created equal and I have a coin flip in a game, I'm playing the guy on Monday night because it gives me something to finish the football week out with me having a vested interest. So
there you go.
It sounds like between the two, right? We're splitting hairs a little bit.
We're still leaning Lockett, though.
We're still leaning Lockett, right? And take the Monday night game. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. So, alrighty, next matchup here. We've got the 49ers and the Bears. The Niners favored by 7, over under 40.5 on this one. Thoughts?
I like the Niners. No, I like the Bears to cover. Excuse me. I like the Bears to cover the 7. I think that's a big spread for kind of the first road start in Trey Lance's career. The George Kittle injury news. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? I think that'll have a little bit of effect on the ability to have a security blanket. And both these teams want to run the ball, right? Like I expect this game to have a pretty quick pace as far as the clock goes, with both teams kind of wanting to keep it onto the ground. Obviously, with only being a 40 and a half, total there. I'm going to say we have the under in this one too. So I'm going to take the Bears to cover the 7. I like the Niners to win. So Niners on the money line. And I like the under.
You and I are going to, we see the under the same, right? I've got this 24 San Francisco, 14 Chicago. So I do see San Francisco winning this, going away on the road there, 10-point type of thing. Trey Lance, interesting move there with Chicago or with San Francisco, going to him, announcing they're going to him. He is very much the starter there and restructuring the Jimmy G contract, all of that. But Trey Lance was the guy that I'm looking at here for the props on this one. And Trey Lance, actually, I really, really like his prop here of 209.5 passing yards as the line there. I'm going to take the over on this one. I think that you'll see him get up there probably about 230 to 235, somewhere in there as far as passing yards go. So I think he smashes the over on the passing yards here. San Francisco also in their last 12 matchups, looking through it on just how Kyle Shanahan kind of runs an offense and how he goes about play calling there. His quarterbacks have gone out and hit that number 10 out of the last 12 times. So I am looking forward to seeing Trey Lance kind of take that step and throw for more than 210 passing yards.
So I like Trey Lance for a prop as well, but mine is a Trey Lance anytime touchdown at plus 210. So I like for him to be able to sneak one in there on the ground when they're inside the red zone.
I like it. Yeah, that's another fun one there too. So I like it. Any other thoughts here on the Chicago and San Francisco game?
No, I think this one's going to be kind of boring.
Yes.
Like I think most people kind of have the same expectations of this game. So it is what it is, but I'm not beating anybody's brakes to go watch it. That's for sure.
Absolutely. So, all right, guys. So, one of the things that we all know for fantasy football is the flex position is very, very important there, and can make and break your week. But we've got a new way to flex when it comes to fantasy here, and that's flex fantasy football. So, if you're looking for a new, fun, and unique way to play fantasy football, you got to come check out Flex Fantasy. The best way it is the best way to challenge people who aren't in your league, right? So Kevin and I play a lot of leagues together. We also play a ton of leagues that we're not a part there, or that we're not in the same league together. But Flex Fantasy still gives us the option to go out and challenge some of these, some of these folks and some of our league mates and some of our buddies, that we may be disagreeing that we've got the better fantasy roster and we've got a better constructed deal. Well, Flex Fantasy now gives you that option to do it. You go ahead and settle that debate with Flex Fantasy. And you can sign up and challenge us at flex.fan/goodoldboysff. That is FLEXFan/GOODOLDBOYSFF. Boom. That one always gets me fired up there. So, Flex Fantasy, absolutely a lot of fun. Let's go ahead. We're going to head over here real quick to Flex Fantasy, and we're going to check out a couple of matchups over there, and we're going to call our shots on a couple of them. So let's go ahead, take a look here. So we go to the arena here, and let's find a good one down here. This one here, I don't think we looked at it the other night there, Kevin. And it's a best ball format here. So let's take a look here at the matchup. Best ball wise, you got Lamar Jackson squaring off against Josh Allen, Javonte Williams against Stephon Diggs, James Cook, Robert Woods, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, AJ Brown, Cam Akers, Pat Freiermuth, Darren Waller, Deontay Johnson, J.K. Dobbins, Drake London, Gabe Davis, Bass, Prater, the Saints versus Buffalo. For me, it's especially off of those performances last night, it's pretty much going away the digging it team. Any thoughts on this one?
I think with this setup, right, the opportunity to gain ground would be where Akers put up the dud for digging it, right?
Yep.
So Lamar Jackson, James Cook put up the dud too, though.
Yep.
I think you're right. I mean, London, I'm not loving London week one.
I'm just checking out here the benches too to see if there's anything else in there that could get popped in as a flex. I mean, you could very easily see Cordell Patterson and Damian Harris make their way up there. You could see Chase Edmonds or Tyler Lockett, or even a Mike Davis make their way up in here instead of the James Cook and the Drake London.
Yeah, man, I think I do like the digging it team, right? And yes, we already know the outcome for some of the Bills stuff, but I like Mixon a lot this week. Darren Waller against the Chargers, I do like that. Dobbins is a question mark, right? But if that gets kind of moved out, but and Woods against the Giants kind of is that number one option there in Tennessee. So I think I like that team more, but I expect big games out of Jamar Chase and AJ Brown. I think this will be closer than what looks like.
Yeah.
Just because we know the outcome of what these Buffalo players did, but I do think it'll be close.
All righty, we're going to take digging it on that one. And then let's go ahead and we're going to take another look here at the arena and see what we got here. You know what? Here's a just because, quite frankly, I like the name here. So we got Dub's team versus McPoo Pants. So this one's just a straight up head to head, no best ball in it. And so the lineups, the way they're set, you got Lamar Jackson squaring off against Dak, Javonte versus Eckler, Cook against Fournette, Chase against Waddle, A.J. Brown against Brandon Cooks, Freiermuth against Pitts, Deontay Johnson versus Javonte Williams, Bass versus Carlson, the Saints defense versus the Chargers defense. Which way you leaning on this one?
All right, so we know Javonte cancels out, right? Because that same players, so it doesn't matter with the points. I like the running backs on McPoopant's team, right? Like I like Eckler, Fournette. I expect to have a pretty good game against the Cowboys here coming up. Cooks is the clear number one option in Houston. Freiermuth and Pitts, I think, kind of balance each other out here in this week. And then Jalen Waddle in this new high-powered offense in Miami, or so we think could be a high-powered offense. Excuse me. Words are hard tonight, guys. Yeah, I like that. I think that's kind of where I sit here at the moment. Like I still think Chase and Brown make it close, right? Like I do think that Chase and Brown make it close overall, but I think the strength of Eckler, Fournette, and Cooks are going to be kind of the difference here.
I like it. Yeah, let's go ahead and go with the McPoo Pants. Not only that, I kind of have the funner name of the two of them, so we're just gonna rock and roll with that, certainly. Alrighty, so guys, again, Flex Fantasy is a new, fun, unique way that you can challenge folks out there in the fantasy space, even if you're not in the same leagues. It's real simple. You create an account, log on, and just import your league. And importing the league, like some of these things that it takes, all of this stuff to try and import it. Nah, it's like 30 seconds. You click some buttons and it's there, import, and you can start challenging people, within minutes of doing that stuff. And it's a lot of fun. We started doing that last year. We'll be competing in the Tournament of Champions out there. And we've still got teams in the arena that are looking for challengers to take us on and compete against us this week. And we very much look forward to seeing some of y'all out there hop on, challenge us, and go through that. Again, that's flex.fan/goodoldboysff to sign up and challenge the boys out there today. Be sure to check that one out. Kevin, it's back over into the matchups here. But before we get there, a couple of other questions coming in here. What a breezy 88 saying he's nervously excited for Trey Lance, and he's questioning how many rushing yards for Trey Lance on that one. I'll tell you right now, the prop line for Trey Lance rushing yards, the over-under is 38.5.
Yeah, I think I'm taking the over here. I think without having a security blanket, maybe he gets a little happy feet. First road start. So I think he's going to be able to get 40. Okay. 42, something like that. I'm not expecting like Lamar Jackson rushing for 87 rushing yards, but I do think that he can get to 40, 45.
I think you're probably right. So I like that one. We'll take kind of that over on that one there as well. Homer Simpson, always a fan of the Simpsons. So, he's hopping in here asking a question. I got offered CMC, Andrews, and Edmonds for Kamara, Zeke, Deontay, and half-point PPR. Which would leave him with Lamar, Saquon, CMC, Patterson, Edmonds, Andrews, Godwin, Kirk, Olave, Boyd. What do you think? Thanks.
The
only thing that makes me nervous is that wide receiver room until Godwin comes back. And we see Godwin operating at the high peak that we imagine he will operate at. Yeah,
you'd like to be able to have a little bit more there. But if you're not worried about the CMC injury history, which some people are, some people aren't. But if you're one of the folks that aren't concerned about that, CMC and Saquon is a hell of a 1-2 combo and a half-point PPR as far as what running backs can give you, right? Yeah, Cordell Patterson's there as well. And really, if you're worried about Godwin's there, Kirk, Olave, and Boyd, I think you'd be all right. I think you can make it work, right? Until Godwin, I think limp maybe for the first 2 weeks until Godwin's back there, but you're plus your matchups are going to be plus for quarterback. You're going to be plus for running back in most cases because of what CMC offers. Obviously, you're going to be sticking another one of those running backs, whether it's Patterson or Edmonds, on any given week in your flex here to start with. And then Christian Kirk, he's going to get fed the ball. They paid him a ton of money in Jacksonville, so he's going to see the targets. And then you're just paying attention to the news, right? If Godwin's healthy, he's clearly in there at wide receiver. If Godwin's dinged up and you don't want to chance it this particular week, then you have to pivot to Olave or Boyd. I would venture.
I'd take Olave in that situation this week.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I think I would agree with that. But I see no issue with the trade. You're not getting the short end of the stick. You're just going to have to manage what you're doing from a wide receiver 2/flex position here for a little bit until Godwin's fully healthy.
Right, and you also get Mark Andrews there as well, so you get a set it and forget it premium tight end that can be a positional advantage there for you. Another name for you to potentially look at if you make that trade and if you still have any roster ability to stash at that point, Paris Campbell would be a guy that I would be looking to try and stash on that as well. I think that
Romeo Dobbs too.
Yes, that would be another one to try and stash there as well. I think both of those guys will have week 4, they're going to be hard to find in leagues because they will now be rostered. Fabian Vasquez, what do we do with Akers? We just kind of wait and see on this one, right? Like, we don't overreact. We don't go crazy on that one. It's one game, right? Like, and we addressed this at the top of the show too, that, if you listened last year, everybody was freaking out about Zeke last year from a fantasy production. Granted, Zeke at least still played a good game for football perspectives. Cam Akers, I think we're gonna see him be worked back in here. It may just be a little bit slower going to start, but I think you'll see him kind of bounce back, and I think he'll end up, probably finishing fringe running back 2 when it's all said and done right now, right? So, any other thoughts on that one?
No, you're absolutely right. You're not going to start him next week against the Falcons. You're going to want to wait and see. So whether you're playing a different player on your roster, whether you got to dig into the waiver wire a little bit and see if there's an option there, because after week 1, there's always someone who pops, right? After week 1 and it's all said and done, there's always someone who pops and everyone's going to rush to the waiver wire and they have to drop subsequent players to pick up the player that they want. So, it is a wait and see game, but for now, I would advise to plan on making other moves to your roster besides having Akers in your starting lineup for week 2 until we see, him kind of out of the McVay doghouse, or till Darrell Henderson gets hurt, because he can't stay healthy either.
Right. And Fabian's asking, what about a Brian Robinson stash him? Yeah, if you can.
I like him.
Yeah, if your roster can stash him, absolutely. Stick him on your, put him on your IR. Like, that'd be a good move there if you got an IR spot. And if not, if your bench can withhold it, that's not a bad move there. Absolutely. Alrighty, next matchup. We've got the Steelers and the Bengals. Bengals favored 6.5, over under 44.5. Thoughts on this one?
I like the Bengals, and I like the over in this game. I think this one's going to be a little bit more high-powered than what we think. The Steelers have the pass rush ability, but the Bengals have this new revamped offensive line, right? They changed over 80% of their offensive line to help keep Joe Burrow upright. So I think that will spell good things. Joe Mixon is obviously there commanding the backfield. Derek and I both have high hopes, top 5, top 3 finishes for Joe Mixon season long. And then obviously you have Higgins and Jamar Chase. I think it's just a little bit too much here for the Steelers, because offensively they can be efficient with Mitch Trubisky, but it's still kind of wait and see, right? Excuse me. I think they're going to want to run the ball, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Absolutely. So I see this one coming down to the point where Cincinnati about 27, the Steelers 21 on this one. So I see about a 6-point differential on this one. I see the over hitting on this one. A couple of things that I was looking through some of the props, and one of them that really, really stood out to me that I really liked. Pat Freiermuth over 27.5 receiving yards on this one. In the last 10 games Pat Freiermuth has played, he hit that mark in 6 of the last 10 games. I get it. It was with Ben Roethlisberger, but with that being the case, Mitch Trubisky has looked to tight ends in the past and has fed them a little bit, making Jimmy Graham relevant again out in Chicago. So I do think that you're going to see Pat Freiermuth flash a little bit and get over 27.5 receiving yards. Any other thoughts on this one?
I think I like the Najee over 58.5. Like that just seems a little bit low. I'm not saying, 65, maybe 70 yards for Najee here. Like, I'm not saying like he's going to have a top 3 week this week as they come out. Steelers offensive line is still questionable, but I do think 58.5 is a little low for him.
Right. Yeah, I like that one too. Next matchup, Eagles, Lions. The Eagles favored by 4 on this one. The over under 48.5. Thoughts on this one? And I actually believe this one here, when I was looking at the lines, this one moved yet again on us to the point where I think it's a 5. A 5 here. I'll look that up here real quick and make sure.
FanDuel still has it at 4.5.
Okay. Yep, 4.5. Yep.
I like the Eagles. If the Eagles are for real, this is a game that they have to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if they're really going to make a run, and it's kind of weird to say this for the first game of the season, but it does kind of set the tone, right? Eagles made a bunch of moves. They brought players in. They think that Jalen Hurts has kind of taken that next step. Yes, the Lions are feisty. It's a home opener, but the Eagles, talent-wise, still should prevail. So I like the Eagles to cover the 4.5. I like the under, but just barely at the 48.5. And I think my prop for this game is Amon-Ra St. Brown has a plus 200 anytime touchdown. And I think I like that for this game. So there's there. Or if you want to get really, really tricky because, the Eagles backfield has become just as hard to predict as what the Patriots backfield normally is. Kenneth Gainwell is plus 380 for an anytime touchdown. So if you want to put a little bit extra juice on that one, there's an option for you as well.
I like it. Yeah, I see this one. I agree with you. I think this one's going to be an under on this one, right? Like, and maybe I just watched too much Hard Knocks this offseason and I'm, a little bit bandwagoning some Lions here and believing in the Dan Campbell narrative and listening to give some of those rah-rah speeches that I'm pumped up and I'm ready to go. But anyway, I've got this one coming out. Eagles 24, Lions 21. So I think that the Eagles will win. I do think that the Lions managed to get just cover that. And I see the under coming through on this one as well. Another interesting one that I saw as far as the props on this one that I really liked, DeAndre Swift over 48.5 rushing yards on this one. I think that you'll see him probably get somewhere in the 60 to 70 yards on the ground on this one. So that's where I'm kind of liking it. Any other thoughts on this matchup?
Nope. On to the next one. And the next one, Patriots, Dolphins. I see what you did there with the Bill Belichick reference. Dolphins 3.5 favorites, over under 46. Thoughts on this one? I'm going to take the Dolphins here. Mm-hmm. I think the Dolphins cover this. And do I want the over or the under? I'm going to say the over, just because why the hell not? Patriots normally kind of coast into the beginning of the season. This is normally the time of year where the Patriots kind of get beat bad and everyone's going, oh, is this the year that they, fall back down to earth or what have you? So I'm going to say the Dolphins. I'm going to take the over. What I am looking for, here we go, is Mac Jones. Over under 234 yards passing. I'm going to take the under. This offense has not looked very good. I need to see that they're kind of clicking and that they can kind of move it along there. So I'm going to take the under on 234 for Mac Jones here this week.
I like it. I got a little different outcome though. I've got I do have Miami covering this one here. 24, New England 20 on this one. So the under just barely on that one is how I'm seeing this one come out. Patriots are going to have to move the ball a little bit here and there, though. While their running attack hasn't necessarily looked great to start the season, I do think that they managed to get it together enough for Ramondre Stevenson to get over 35.5 rushing yards. So that's kind of the prop that I'm looking at and I'm kind of liking here. Any other thoughts on New England Dolphins?
Now, the other one is a Ramondre anytime touchdown, right? If they can get inside that 5-yard line, plus 195.
Oh, that's a nice one. I like that one a lot. All righty. So let's go ahead and head on over into the next one. And that is Monkey Knife Fight. So Monkey Knife Fight is a very fun way to play a lot of daily fantasy contests out there. We were doing the touchdown dance, or at least trying to, on Thursday nights, and Kevin and I managed to call lots of guys that scored touchdowns in that one. And we're going to hope that we can call some ones here as well. So Monkey Knife Fight, rapid fire. You got to pick the winner in each of these matchups. So Christian McCaffrey versus Lamar Jackson, who has more overall fantasy points. Christian McCaffrey getting a half-point bonus.
I'm going to take Lamar Jackson.
I can see that. I like it. I'm going to take CMC. I'm going to walk a little bit on the wild side there, and I think CMC puts up a monster game here. Next one. Got to call it between Jalen Hurts, Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor gets a 1.5-point bonus on this one. What you got?
I'm going to take the quarterback in this one as well. I'm taking Hurts. I don't think McCaffrey might be, right? You can see him do this with just receiving totals, but I don't think Jonathan Taylor is going to get enough run in week 1 against a bad Texans team to keep up with Jalen Hurts.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with you on that. So I'm going to take Jalen Hurts here as well. So I've got CMC, Jalen Hurts rounding out mine. You guys, you can go ahead and play Monkey Knife Fight. You can go over to monkeyknifefight.com, sign up, download the app, all that. And if you use the promo code GOBFF to play this daily fantasy contest, new users can get a 100% deposit match up to $100 on their first deposit there. So come play along with us. And moreover, show us, send us when you hit on those things. Let us know that you won. We always enjoy seeing those things come through there. Next matchup, we got the Ravens, the Jets. Ravens favored by 7, the over-under 44.5. What are your thoughts here?
I like the Ravens, and I like the under again. I just don't think the Jets are going to be able to put up enough points. Yes, we get Joe Flacco, right? This is version 5 of Joe Flacco, right? Man. Something crazy. Yeah. I think the Ravens are going to come out. They typically do come out pretty strong here to start the gate. I think Lamar Jackson's going to be a little perturbed that they didn't get a contract done, right? So with J.K. Dobbins being banged up, Gus Edwards on PUP list or IR, excuse me.
He's not available.
He's not available. You have Mike Davis, whoop-de-doo, Justice Hill, again, kind of
Kenyon Drake,
Kenyon Drake. Like, I think Lamar Jackson's going to have to do a lot of this on his own. So I like a lot of the Lamar Jackson overs for this game, but specifically I like the Baltimore. I like them 7. It's kind of a push. I like Baltimore to cover the 7. If you go to FanDuel right now, it's at 6.5. So I really like that because then you can get the touchdown and you're all squared away and good. But I do like the under. I don't think the Jets have enough offense to keep up this game.
Right. I'm calling a push. I on the 7 anyway. Baltimore 24, Jets 7 on this one. Again, right, I mentioned Michael Carter earlier. I do think Michael Carter has a bit of a game out there. It's not going to surprise me when I look up on Sunday and I see Michael Carter in a couple of my DFS contests that I'll be playing out there as well. But Michael Carter has got, I'm going to call for over 34.5 rushing yards on this one. I think that's going to be a pretty easy mark for him to go out and do. And most of these props that I'm looking at are the minus 110s, minus 115. So they're pretty much right at that point where that's where a lot of the house is just kind of resting on those ones and about as even odds as you'll see on some of those. All righty, let's go ahead and head on over into the next matchup here. Jacksonville Jaguars facing off against the Washington Commanders. The Commanders favored by 2.5, the over under 44. Thoughts on this one?
I think I have least amount of give a damn for this game. as I do any game on the slate in week 1. Like, it just is not overly intriguing to me. But that being said, I'll take the Commanders. I think that we'll see, I'm hoping we see Antonio Gibson a little frustrated, right? That he was going to get relegated and now he's going to get a ton of run, right? Like he's kind of, him and JD McKissick are the two guys there in that offense as Brian Robinson recovers. We know that Carson Wentz can feed a number 1 receiver. We saw that in Philly a little bit. We definitely saw it last year in Indianapolis and what Michael Pittman was able to do. So I think Terry McLaurin is a great fantasy play this week. And overall, I'll take the Commanders by a field goal. So I'll say Commanders cover. And I'm going to honestly, I'm going to say the under again. Like I'm all about the unders here in week 1. Like I'm just not buying that we're going to have this massive offensive barrage. And if we do, I definitely don't think it's coming from this game.
No, I would agree with that. I'm going to take the under on this one as well. I've actually got Jacksonville winning this one, 22-20 in a close fought game there. An interesting prop that I was looking at that I really liked was Jahan Dotson over 36.5 receiving yards on this one. I think that he's going to he will have the better overall matchups on this one, more favorable coverage, and I think that he'll catch a few, get the ball down the field. 36.5, pretty easy on this one. Any other thoughts here?
No, I'm not putting much of my gambling budget on this game.
There you go. Cleveland Browns, Carolina Panthers. This was one that I very rarely see, but an even line on this one, over under 42. Thoughts on this one?
I'm taking Carolina. So big movers here throughout the day. Because Derek, when we started the show, FanDuel had this at even money as well. There's been some substantial cash laid down because the line has moved all the way to Cleveland -1.5 just in the hour that we've been on this show. So I like Carolina even more. I like the fact that they're at home. I like the fact that they have CMC. I like that it's the revenge game for Baker, and he can kind of show the Browns up of what they're missing out on. And I think Jacoby Brissett's going to be captain checkdown, right? So, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, David Njoku.
Yeah, I like that. I've got Jacoby Brissett as my prop there. Under 207.5 passing yards on that one. Again, I see him checking down on that one, and I do see that the Browns trying to run the ball and establish that run with Brissett back there under QB. But I do see the over actually getting hit in this one. Carolina 24, Cleveland 21 on this one. So an over, but not by much on that one. So I do think that you're going to see Baker have a very big chip on his shoulder, and that typically means very big things for Baker Mayfield when it comes to playing football. The dude is driven by a chip on the shoulder. So we'll see how this one turns out here. Let's go ahead and head to the Indianapolis Colts facing off against the Houston Texans. Colts 7-point favorites on the road, over under 45.5 on this one. Thoughts on this?
I like the Colts, and I like the over in this one. I think the Colts are going to be showing some offensive firepower. Matt Ryan has probably the best offensive line that he's played with in the last 5 or 6 years. Obviously, Michael Pittman, we all know how much our show really enjoys watching him play. Jonathan Taylor, arguably the best running back in football. And quite frankly, the Texans defense is really, really bad. So I think we see immediate improvement on the Colts, where this game last year they would probably struggle. I think Matt Ryan does make enough of a difference that the Colts are able to cover the 7 here and win this game outright.
Yeah, I do think that the Colts win. I've got the over on this one when it's all said and done. I got Indianapolis 28, Houston 24. And I think you're going to see Davis Mills put up a bit of a show there. His line is only 218.5 passing yards. And I'm going to take the over on that one. I think that we can easily see Davis Mills end with 240, 250 plus yardage on this one here. So that's kind of the route I'm going. I do think that I do think that Indianapolis, with Shaquille Leonard being out, actually hurts them quite a bit. They also had one of their young secondary players that was a starter retire in the offseason after the draft there as well. So they've got some departures there that I think are going to hurt them a little bit. But again, I think they've got enough gusto to pull this one out. But I do see the Texans covering the spread on that one. All right, Kevin. So we looked at the Monkey Knife Fight early slate of games there, and we're picking out some winners. And so we're going to head over to the afternoon slate here and take a look at some rapid fire afternoon slate of games here over on Monkey Knife Fight. Pick the winner of each of the two matchups is how this one goes. Justin Herbert versus Patrick Mahomes. Justin Herbert gets a 0.5-point bonus. Thoughts on that one?
Herbert all day.
Yeah, 100%. Kyler Murray, 0.5-point bonus against Derrick Henry.
Again, Kyler getting a 0.5-point bonus there. Give me Kyler.
Absolutely, I'm going to take Kyler as well on that one. Take that QB there, and there's a lot of folks out there projecting that Kansas City Arizona game is going to be the highest scoring game of the week, and you can certainly see why on that one. But you can go ahead and play along with us on that one over at monkeyknifefight.com. Use the promo code GOBFF, and you can get up to an instant deposit match up to $100 using that code there and play along there. Let's go ahead and get into the next matchup here. We got the Giants, the Titans. Titans, 5.5-point favorites over under 43.5. Thoughts on this one?
I like the Giants to cover this. I just Derrick Henry's coming back, which is obviously a big part. But outside of Derrick Henry, I am not convinced that the Titans are going to be able to do much offensively. Like, we need to see if Treylon Burks can be anything like what the Titans drafted him to be. Robert Woods, his first game back since tearing his ACL. And the Giants kind of are in this new offense. I'll buy enough of the hype in the offseason to say that the Giants cover the 5.5. As far as the over-under goes, I'm going to say under. I could see a 23-20 game, like barely under, right? But I could see something like that.
Yeah, I think I've got this one kind of in the 18 to 14, 21 to 18 type of deal. So I've got the under on this one here as well. I do think that this game is going to be kind of just this is not going to be a very exciting game to watch, I don't believe, when this thing's all said and done. Just not necessarily a big fan of the Giants being able to move the ball really through the air. And I don't think that Tennessee is going to be able to do much that's not on the ground there. So again, I think this is going to be kind of an old school grinded out type of matchup that's just not going to be much on the fun side as far as watching it goes. But any props that really popped out to you?
Sorry, I just moved off to a different page here because I wasn't paying attention. Here we go. Here we go. Daniel Jones over the 230.5 passing yards this game.
I like it.
Trailing a little bit, right? And so playing catch up, using all the weapons that they say he's using. Kenny Golladay sounds like he still looks stiff, but we got Kadarius Toney, Wan'Dale Robinson, Sterling Shepard. Darius Slayton's kind of been relegated there, but we'll see. The Bellinger, right? Fans that you hear some rumblings out of those. But I think here for week one, Daniel Jones over 230.5.
I like it. The one I'm going to go with is actually Treylon Burks. I'm going to, his over under right now. The line is set on 25.5 receiving yards. I'm going to call for the over on that one. There's a really good chance that you see a, play action pass where he picks up all 25 yards on one play. So I'm going to call for the over on that one. Kind of like that one there.
Saquon, another one I like is Saquon over 28.5 as well.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on Saquon 54.5 rushing yards?
I actually really like that line. Like, that's a good line.
Yeah.
Truth be told, I'm steering away from it, period. I'm going to say week 1, Giants trailing. I'm going to say under.
Okay. I like it. Question from, I think that's 00 Wiz _ Khalifa 00. Got Kittle. Should he pick up Njoku or Irv Smith to start this week?
I would grab Njoku. Is who I'd grab for week 1. Like, Irv Smith's kind of that sexy name that people keep talking about, but we haven't seen him really put it together. And we know he's playing like second or third fiddle, really third fiddle, because you got Cook, Jefferson, Thielen, and then Irv Smith. So kind of fourth fiddle in that offense. I think Njoku could arguably see the second most targets out of anybody in Cleveland this weekend. So I would pick up Njoku and run with him.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the guy that's got check down master throwing the ball there, and that's David Njoku, who's Jacoby Brissett loves to check down the ball, and so I do think that you'll see Njoku have a big week this week. What about Tonyan? I tell you what, we'll address the Tonyan one here in just a second, because that's where we're heading, is over to the Packers and the Vikings. So Khalifa, I'll get your question worked in on this one here. Let's go ahead and head to Green Bay Vikings, or Green Bay, Minnesota. Packers 1.5 point favorites on this one. Over unders 47. Thoughts on this one?
I'm taking the Vikings. I'm taking the Vikings to cover. And really, I'll take the over in this game. I think there'll be some points. But Vikings are at home. Vikings gave the Packers fits last year. There's no Devontae Adams, no Allen Lazard, it looks like, no Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So I think you can see a big game from Aaron Jones on the Packers side, A.J. Dillon. But overall, I'm going to tell you the Vikings have too much firepower this week. And let's not forget, last year in week 1, the Packers laid up a huge stinker against the New Orleans Saints. So it is possible that they just kind of fall out of bed and don't know what to do with themselves. I'm taking Minnesota week 1.
I also like that pick. I'm going to take Minnesota as well. I do think that we're probably going to see more of the under on this one here. I just don't necessarily know that we're going to see, these divisional matchups like this are tough right out the gate. And so, I think that this is very much one that we can see it kind of come down into the, 24-21 type of matchup. So the under, but just barely on the under there. Thoughts as far as some of the props on this one?
So I was looking for the Bobby Tonyan receiving prop, and FanDuel only has 4 players listed for receiving yard props, and they're all Vikings. Like, that tells you how unsure Vegas is about what this Packers offense is going to do. So that being said, Dalvin Cook, I like Dalvin Cook over the 18.5 receiving yards. I think that's a pretty damn well shoo-in that he's going to see 25 to 35 receiving yards there. So I do like that one a lot. And then for an anytime touchdown, let's see here, Romeo Doubs plus 340. I've been talking about him a lot here the last couple of weeks. I think he finds a way in the end zone. So Romeo Doubs plus 340 for an anytime touchdown.
Yeah, I like that. So looking at it, I did find, Irv Smith is over under for receiving yards 29.5. Let's just use the same line for Bobby Tonyan, right? Like if we really are kind of comparing apples to apples here, Irv Smith, Robert Tonyan here, as far as who will get kind of, the better fantasy week here. Let's say that the line is 29.5 for both. Do you see either, both, or none of them hitting?
I think Tonyan has the better opportunity to hit that, just based off of sheer opportunity, right? Like, we're not quite sure what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. We're also not quite sure of what Tanyan's going to look like, right? Because he was out for training camp, really recovering from his own ACL injury back in week 8, I believe it was last year. So A lot of unknowns there. But I think Tanyan has the ability to get to 30 or more a little bit easier than Irv Smith does, just off of opportunity. That being said, I think I still like Njoku. Like I want the healthy guy week 1, right? I don't want the guy who missed training camp just stepping onto the field. I don't want the unproven commodity in Irv Smith. So tying all that back into our last question is I think I'm going to stick with Irv Smith, or excuse me, with David Njoku for week 1.
Yeah, I mean, Robert Tonyan is set to play on that one. He came off the injury report today on that one. While I do think that Tonyan does have some good opportunities, right? Like when you typically look at vacated targets, where do most vacated targets go if there's not a another great wide receiver to step in? And when a lot of vacated targets from wide receivers, where do those get spread out? Well, a lot of times they get spread out between the tight ends and the running backs there. And so do I think Robert Tonyan has a lot of great opportunity here? Yes, I do. But again, I do think that you're going to see a little bit of a lower scoring game there. And I think David Njoku has some sneaky upside this week where I could see David Njoku finishing inside tight end 1. I think Robert Tonyan's going to be a high end tight end 2 play this week. So I'm going to still go with Njoku on that one. Let's go ahead and head to our next matchup here. Kansas City versus the Arizona Cardinals here. The Chiefs favored by 6, over under 53.5. What are your thoughts here?
I like the Cardinals to cover the 6. And I like the under, but barely. 54 points to hit the over is a big over for week 1. So I like the Cardinals at home in the desert to cover the 6. I like the under, but I do think that this is still going to be a pretty fun game to watch, right? A lot of fantasy relevance between the two teams. You get to see how Kyler rebounded from kind of a struggle down the stretch of last season. We get to see how Mahomes works with these new weapons and no Tyreek. So a lot of fun things to watch for in this game. But overall, I'm going to take Arizona. Like I said, Arizona cover and the under.
Yeah, I can get behind that. I'll take Arizona to cover and the under here as well. An interesting prop out there that I'm looking at, and I have a hard time believing the line is this low, but deceptively low. I do think of the way that it is. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, only at 11.5 receiving yards is the over under line on that one. I think I got to hit the over. I think that we'll probably see him get 15 yards through the air. So I'm going to take the over on that one. Not necessarily happy about that one, but that's one that kind of sticks out there as far as, some potential value on that one there. Any other thoughts on this game?
Another one I like Juju over the 46.5. Like I think Juju can get to 60 receiving yards here in this game. So that's another one that I like.
Yeah. It was interesting to see, I don't know if you caught Patrick Mahomes' presser the other day in which he said that they were going to spread the ball around a little bit. It wasn't going to necessarily be like, what you saw in the past where he force-fed Tyreek, he force-fed Kelsey, and it's going to be around that. And then he actually goes on to say, sorry, fantasy managers out there. There's a good chance that you're not going to know which receiver it is going to be this week, but we're going to spread the ball around and use it. I'm right there with you, but I do think that you will see a more spread approach here. But I do like that Juju line. I do. So, all righty, let's go ahead and head on out to Las Vegas Raiders playing the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers favored by 3, over under 52. Thoughts on this one?
I like the over in this game. One of the few games that I like the over. I'm going to take the Chargers. I think Justin Herbert's really going to try and put some pressure on the division, right? Like all we hear about is we hear a ton about Mahomes. He hears about Josh Allen and the MVP race and everything else. And I think this is the time where Justin Herbert can kind of ascend, if you will, as far as taking that next step into the MVP candidacy. And then you have the Raiders, right? The Derek Carr, you have Darren Waller, Devontae Adams coming over there, Hunter Renfrow. A lot of things to look at offensively. I'm not sold on the Raiders defensively, which is part of the reason I like the over here. But overall, taking the Chargers, and I like the over.
Cosign. I like the Chargers. I like the over. I think that you're going to see this one. I think is going to be a bit of a duel, right? The Chargers, while they went out and got Jackson from the Patriots to help cover some of that, he's going to be missing this week. So there's a lot of things in this matchup that I like, and I think that we're just going to end up seeing a shootout. A lot of folks were predicting for the Kansas City and the Cardinals game, or the Kansas City and Arizona game, to be the highest scoring game of the week. I could very much see this one being the game that gets the highest scores to it. And I think we're going to see some shootouts here, and I think this is going to be a very, very fun matchup to watch as we get ready to go into the Sunday night and Monday night games here. Were there any props that really, really stood out to you here?
I'm talking about Justin Herbert, 284.5, and I'm going to take the over.
Oh,
so I got a lot of ground to make up there for that one, but 284.5, and I like the over. And I also like the over 35.5 Austin Eckler receiving yards.
Yep, I was looking at that one and liking that one was standing out to me as well. One other one that's standing out here is Mike Williams, 56.5 receiving yards. I think that we can hit the over on that one there as well.
Where are you getting those odds at?
That one I'm looking over at bettingpros.com, looking at some of those things, but it looks like Rivers Sportsbook has that listed at that.
There you go. Go there, because I like that number a lot better than the FanDuel, because that one's at 59.5.
Yeah, at 50. Like I think when we see Mike Williams touch 60, but I think that's probably where it's going to be, is that 61 to 63 number. So it's going to be like just over barely on that one. So if I get a couple more, I'll absolutely take that. So already, I like it.
Ooh, wow. Josh Jacobs, 59.5 rushing yards.
That's close.
I'm taking the under. I'm not convinced with Jacobs and how he's going to get used and how McDaniels is going to split time back there. I'm not convinced. I'm taking the under.
Did you say the line that you found that at was 59.5?
49.5.
Okay. Like, it's close for me, but I as much as I want to be like, oh no, I think you're right. 49.5. I think we see him come under that one as well.
Yeah, it's a tight line. Like, I think the line is good, but I just, if I'm betting that one, I'm taking the under.
Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and head on over Trophy Smack. So we talk all the time about the fact that you need to, we're all about getting cash and trophies here on this show and helping you guys along the way to go out and get cash and trophies when it comes to your fantasy football. So over at Trophy Smack, you can get a completely customized trophy for your league, that you can go on years and years and years. You can get championship belts, winners rings, regardless of what your flavor is. Trophy Smack has you covered. You can check it out at trophysmack.com. The link is down in the description on the YouTube channel there. And go ahead and head on over there. Check it out. Make sure that you've got the trophy for your fantasy football league here. Get it ordered. That way it's ready to go for presentation time here. Let's go ahead and head to our next matchup. Buccaneers, Cowboys. Buccaneers favored by 2.5 over under 50.5 points. Thoughts on this one?
Man, this one's tough for me. Both teams have offensive line woes. Both teams are possibly a little limited at receiver for this week. We know Michael Gallup's out. We don't know what's going on with Chris Godwin. Russell Gage is trending towards playing with his hamstring, but that's not guaranteed yet. Obviously, Julio, man, I'm going to hate myself for doing this. I'm going to take Dallas because I know you're going to take Tampa Bay. And we're just going to see how we shake out on this one. And over under I'm going to tell you, we touched the over. I think this game gets to 51, 52.
Yeah, I'm looking at this thing, and I could see it being a 27-24, and that's actually what I've kind of got that called at is 27-24 Buccaneers on this one. So I think that they just barely covered. They just barely touched the over. I don't have much confidence in that predicted score there, but yeah, kind of is what it is there. And yeah, again, right? Like you just touched on the fact that there are so many question marks across so much of these teams here that it really gets tough to have, to really kind of sink your teeth into. A lot of people talking about, Tom Brady gets the ball out of his hands just about as fast as any quarterback we've ever seen do it. All this talk that I keep hearing about the fact that they're not going to be, they're just going to get so much pressure up the middle and Tom Brady can't function when he gets pressure up the middle. It's Tom Brady. I'm not that concerned about that one. He'll get the ball out. They'll run bubble screens. They'll run quick crossing pass, things like that. They'll get dump outs, things like that to Leonard Fournette, and they'll move the ball down the field. So I'm not that concerned about that one. So I am going to take the over, take the Bucks. But what props kind of stand out here to you?
I like the under Zeke Elliott, 46.5 rushing yards. I think we see a very similar game plan out of Dallas to what we did last year, right? Like Dallas played a really good game. They just didn't have the ball last, right? Like it just came down to that. But I think we see Zeke stay in, make sure that Dak's protected a little bit and not rushing so much. So I think we see the under there. And then on the receiving yard side,
your one standing out to me, Tony Pollard.
I like the over 18.5 for receiving yards for Tony Pollard.
And I would shop that one around because I'm seeing some of those out there for 17.5. So if I can get if I can get an extra yard on that one, even better. So I'm going to take the Tony Pollard over 17.5 receiving yards there. I think that he could very easily see 25 receiving yards in this game, somewhere kind of in that neighborhood. So that's kind of what I like, and that's kind of the one I'm rolling with there. Anything else stand out to you on this game?
No, this will be a fun Sunday night game. This will be a good way to close out Sunday night. I'm looking forward to this one.
Absolutely. All righty, let's go ahead and head to the Monday night game here. Broncos, hometown team, heading to Seattle to play the Seahawks. Broncos favored 6.5, over under 44.5 on this one.
Here's my homer pick. Denver to cover. I think they get this one by a touchdown. And I'm going to take the under. I think Denver's defense / the lack of confidence I have in Seattle's offense will keep this under, but Russ will cook in his old hometown stadium.
Yeah, I like that call. I'm going to just follow suit. I do think that you're going to see the over. I'm sorry, the under. I do think that you're going to see the Broncos cover. Prop that I'm looking at, Russell Wilson, 1.5 touchdown passes. I think we see 2 out of him this game. So I think that you'll see Cortland Sutton come down with 1. And then, we're going to see a sneaky one probably to a running back here on a little flip type of play there. So I like that prop there. Russell Wilson over the 1.5 passing touchdowns.
Cosign. I like that one a lot.
All righty. Any other thoughts on this game?
Well, I got a ton of thoughts on this game. It's our hometown team, right? But no, for this, it'll be. I don't know that this is probably the best game to end the week on, right? But there's always a West Coast team that has this Monday night game, so might as well be our hometown Broncos with Russ returning to Seattle. So it'll be interesting to see what Seattle's offense actually looks like, right? I think Rashad Penny could have a pretty good game. Like. Mm-hmm. I'm not convinced that Denver's rushing defense is set up very well here at the moment. So I think we saw them get gashed pretty good against the Vikings and the Bills both. So I think Penny could have a pretty good game. But in return, I think Javonte could wreck shop here against Seattle's defense also.
I think you're right. Alrighty. Well, Kevin, that's going to take us down here to the end of it. Any final thoughts out there for the viewers and listeners?
No, good luck. Happy hunting. Keep firing off the questions. So we appreciate all the interaction that we got from everybody. Don't feel like the world is closing down on top of you. If week one doesn't go your way, there's still plenty of time left. This is just kind of what we're all getting acclimated to here for this season, right? We prognosticate, right, is the right word, right?
Yep. Prognosticate.
And we're making all these assumptions, and now we get to see how it kind of comes to fruition. So just sit tight, bear with us, right? We'll get this stuff ironed out, and we'll get everybody on their way to that cash and trophies.
Absolutely. So that's going to do it for us, guys. Again, make sure that you're hitting us up on the socials: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all those good places at Good Old Boys FF. You can check out the website, goodoldboysff.com. We've got the weekly rankings up there. You can peruse some of those things. We've got some great articles that dropped this last week on the website there as well. And those will continue to drop here next week. And we'll get more rankings out there for you next week there as well. Like Kevin just said, make sure you're sending over all your start, sit, all your fantasy questions there. We're going to be going again. We're going to be going live again Sunday morning, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, to help you sort out your lineups, get you guys ready to rock and roll. It is, pretty much just a question and answer type of show there. So throw them out there, shoot them over the questions, all that good stuff. And that YouTube channel, Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast YouTube channel, one of the best ways to support this independent podcast. Would appreciate everybody heading over there, clicking the subscribe button, helping us out there. He's Kevin. I'm Derek. Have a good one. Be safe.